Before we begin, he could have killed her. Instead, he married her. This is a dark Mafia romance audiobook. If you enjoy obsessive heroes, undercover danger, and love stories that cross every line, you're in the right place. Let's begin. I didn't flinch when he slid the ring on my finger, but I did when he kissed me. He knew. I could feel it in the way his mouth didn't soften, the way his hand didn't shake. His lips brushed mine like a dare, like a threat, like he was saying, "Try me, sweetheart," because I already had, and I'd lost. This wasn't part of the plan. I wasn't supposed to still be here in his penthouse in this silk dress, playing wife to the most feared heir in New York's underground. I was supposed to be out, case closed, mission complete, back to Quantico writing up a report on how I dismantled the Corettie empire from the inside. But instead, I was his wife. And worse, he knew I was lying. "You didn't cry," he murmured in my ear, fingers still tangled in mine as the last of the wedding guests disappeared into black cars. "Most women cry at weddings. I'm not most women," I said. He chuckled, quiet and cold. "No, you're really not." 3 years I spent building this cover, new identity, deep background, got recruited by the Coretties as a money girl, then moved up, bookkeeping, logistics. Eventually Kail noticed me, noticed the way I stayed quiet in rooms full of men, the way I listened, the way I never asked questions I shouldn't know to ask. And he let me in, not just into the family business, but into his world, his life, his bed. He played the long game, so I played longer, or I thought I did, until today, until the ring slid on and the vow hit my chest like a loaded gun. "You look pale," he said now, watching me too closely. "Second thoughts? About marrying a man whose enemies leave bodies in dumpsters? Never." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That was the thing about Kail. He never needed to yell, he never needed to break things. His power came in silence, in stillness. He could terrify a room just by looking at someone too long. And right now, he was looking at me, like he was trying to decide if he'd made a mistake, or if I had. We stepped into the elevator, alone at last. 40 floors up, I felt every second in my bones. The wire taped under my bra pressed sharp against my ribs. I hated how I could still feel the heat of his palm on my waist. "I thought you'd try to run," he said, almost casually. "Why would I run?" His eyes slid to mine. "Because that's what spies do when the op goes sideways." My heart stopped, but I didn't blink. "I'm not a spy." "Good," he said, "because I'd hate to have to kill my wife on our wedding night. Before I tell you what happens next, where are you listening from tonight? Drop your city or your country in the comments. I want to know where you are while I drag you deeper into this mess. Because what I'm about to tell you next... You won't believe how far I let him go. He didn't touch me after that. Not until we got inside the penthouse. The elevator opened straight into it. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, gold-veined black stone, and custom Italian everything. Rich. Masculine. His world. He loosened his tie, but he didn't say a word. Neither did I. Not until I stepped out of my heels and crossed the room, unzipping the dress at my side, letting the silk slip down my body. His eyes darkened. But he didn't move. "You said vows today," I said. "Are they real, or just part of the game?" His jaw clenched. He walked over, slow, like a lion stalking prey that already knows it's caught. "I don't make vows I don't intend to keep," he said. "You're mine now." I swallowed. "And if I lie to you?" He lifted a hand, brushing my hair back off my shoulder. His fingers ghosted my jaw. "I won't kill you," he said softly. "That's not how I punish betrayal." I shivered. "Then how?" I whispered. He leaned in, breath warm at my neck. "I make you love me." And then he kissed me. Again, this time slower, this time deeper, this time like he wanted me to believe him, and God help me. Part of me did. I woke up to find him watching me sleep. No phone in hand, no coffee, just Kail Corettie in a white shirt, sleeves rolled, arms crossed, leaning against the wall like a man deciding if I should live or die. "Do you always stare at women after you marry them?" I asked, pulling the silk sheet tighter around my body. His eyes dragged over me, neck, shoulder, collarbone. Only the ones wearing wires. My breath caught, just for a second. Then I rolled my eyes and reached for the champagne flute still sitting on the nightstand. "If you think that'll get you out of making me breakfast, you're not nearly as clever as the Bureau thinks you are." He didn't smile, but he did walk over, sat at the edge of the bed and ran a hand down my bare thigh like he owned me, like I hadn't once testified against men like him. "You know what the difference is between us, Anna?" he said softly. You lie for a living. I lie to survive. I met his eyes. I don't know what you think you know, but don't, he said so low I barely heard it. Don't insult me like that. He stood, straightened his cuffs, and headed for the door. Get dressed. We have a brunch. A brunch? With my mother. My stomach flipped. I didn't know mobsters did brunch. We don't. That's why it's terrifying. I wore navy silk and red lipstick and a diamond so big it looked stolen because it was. Kail's mother lived in a brownstone on the edge of Central Park, the kind that smelled like rosewater and secrets. Every surface gleamed. Every photo frame was silver. There were no wedding photos of Kail's father. There were guns in the piano bench. She kissed my cheeks like she didn't know I was FBI. Or worse, like she did. You're lovelier than the last one, she whispered as she poured tea. Last what? I asked. She didn't answer. Kail sat across from me, legs spread, hand on his coffee cup like it was a weapon. His fingers tapped the porcelain once, twice, then stopped. Signal. I didn't know what it meant. You'll give me grandchildren, won't you? His mother asked, sugar sweet. I nearly choked on my mimosa. That's a little fast. Not for our world, she said. Babies make women loyal. She looked at me then, too long, too still, and I knew. She suspected. Back in the car, I kept my voice even. What was that? Some kind of test? She likes you. She thinks I'm pregnant. Kail looked at me. Well, he said, you're not. It wasn't a question I didn't answer, because deep down, some traitorous part of me wondered what would happen if I was. We didn't speak the rest of the drive. But when we got back to the penthouse, he pulled me against the wall the second the door closed. His mouth was hard on mine, desperate, possessive, like he wanted to erase every doubt with his teeth. You think you still have a choice, he murmured against my skin. But you don't, Anna. Let me go, he laughed. You married me. You made me. Same thing. His hand slid under the hem of my dress. My body burned. My brain screamed. I should have pulled away. I didn't, because even now, even wired, even after all of it, I wanted him. God help me. I wanted the man who might be planning to kill me. I made my first mistake the night his uncle was shot. I'd gotten too comfortable. Too used to the silk sheets, the soft threats, the way Kail touched me like I was breakable, even when we both knew I wasn't. I thought I could keep the lines clean, spy versus target, duty versus desire. But then the call came. And everything changed. He was in the middle of getting dressed when his phone buzzed. Just one word lit the screen. Hit. His jaw clenched. I sat up in bed, heart already thudding. What happened? He didn't answer. Just buttoned his shirt and pulled a gun from the safe behind the mirror like it was nothing. Like it was normal. Kail, stay here. No. He looked at me then, cold, unreadable. This isn't part of your job, Anna. I forced a laugh. Oh, I'm sorry. Is job what we're calling marriage now? His mouth twitched, and then he said something I wasn't ready for. I need you to come with me. The black SUV reeked of adrenaline and smoke. There were two men in the front I didn't recognize. One of them had blood on his knuckles. The other had a crucifix tattooed on his neck. We pulled up outside a closed-down deli in Hell's Kitchen. One of their holding fronts I remembered from the file. I'd reported it 6 months ago. My chest tightened. A man was bleeding out in the back office. Another was screaming in Russian. The floor was slick with something red and awful, and Kail didn't even blink. He stepped right into it, kneeling beside the wounded man. Uncle Rico, I whispered. His shirt was soaked through. He wasn't breathing well. Kail pressed 2 fingers to the pulse point at his throat. Get him in the car. Where are we taking him? I asked. He looked at me like it was obvious. Somewhere the cops can't follow. If you're new here, sweetheart, welcome to the story. I'm Anna Martin, FBI agent, professional liar, and now Mafia wife. Tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Because this next part, it's the moment I realized I might not be the one in control anymore. They took Rico to a safe house in Brooklyn. No hospitals, no ambulances, just back alley medicine and blood on the floor. I helped hold pressure while one of Kail's men stitched him up. My hands didn't shake, but my mind did, because I wasn't recording any of this. I couldn't. The wire was still under my bra, but it had no signal here. No comms, no backup. I was deep inside enemy territory, by choice. And Kail? He knew it. You held it together, he said later, back in the penthouse. We hadn't spoken the entire ride home. I've seen worse. I'm sure you have. He poured himself a drink. Didn't offer me one. Tell me something, Anna. I raised an eyebrow. Only if I feel like it. He turned. His voice was low, dangerous. Were you going to let him die? I froze. What? My uncle. Were you going to stand there and watch or help? I helped. You didn't flinch. I shrugged. You said you liked that about me. He stepped closer. No, he said. I said I liked the way you lie. I swallowed. Kail, I want the truth now. My heart slammed against my ribs. You already know it. He tilted his head. Do I? Silence. He walked forward and backed me against the wall, palms braced on either side of my head, his mouth just inches from mine. If I searched this place, he said, voice like silk-wrapped steel, what would I find? I didn't move. Nothing. He stared at me so long I almost broke. Then he stepped back. You've got until midnight to make a choice. A choice? Who you belong to. And then he left. I ripped the wire off at 11:42 p.m., not because I chose him, but because I couldn't let him hear what I was about to say. My hands were shaking. The penthouse was dark, just the soft glow of city lights bleeding through the windows, casting gold on marble floors and empty bourbon glasses. Kail hadn't come back yet. He was giving me time. Time to lie better. Time to confess. Time to run. I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed we now shared and stared at the piece of black tape in my hand. The tiny mic no bigger than a dime. Useless now. If the Bureau had been listening all night, they'd know something had changed, because I should have turned him in already. I had the location of a stash house, the names of 3 new lieutenants, a direct witness account of a hit. But I hadn't sent anything in, because Kail Corettie was no longer just the target. He was the man who looked at me like I was the only thing he couldn't buy, and I didn't know what to do with that. He came back at 11:59. No words, no explanations, just slammed the door and threw his keys on the counter, tension radiating off him like heat. I stood in the hallway barefoot, wearing one of his shirts. Where were you? Thinking. About? Whether to kill you. I didn't flinch. What did you decide? He looked at me, eyes dark, jaw tense. Then crossed the room in 3 slow, dangerous steps. His hand slid around the back of my neck. Not rough, but not soft either. I decided I'm not done with you yet. My breath caught. And after? I whispered. His thumb brushed the side of my throat. After depends on what you say next. I'm not who you think I am. Then tell me who you are. I looked up at him, and for the first time since I walked into his world, I told the truth. My name is Anna Martin. I work for the Bureau. I was sent to infiltrate your family, collect evidence, flip you if I could. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me like he was watching a fire burn down, something important. And the ring? He asked quietly. I swallowed. Part of the job. His grip tightened just enough to make my pulse race. But that's not why you're still here? No? Then why? My chest rose and fell too fast. I don't know, I whispered. Kail stepped closer, his mouth right at my ear now. I do, he said. You're still here because you wanted to be mine. You just needed an excuse. I should have denied it. Should have screamed, run, begged. Instead, I leaned into him, and for one breathless second, I felt what it would be like to actually choose him. He kissed me like he wanted to erase every lie I'd ever told. Fingers tangled in my hair, mouth hot and unrelenting, his body pinning mine to the hallway wall like I was his and always had been. My hands gripped his shirt, my legs went weak. There was no plan now, no mission. Just heat and danger and the sick, twisted truth that I didn't want to leave. But then, his phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. He growled under his breath and yanked it out of his pocket. Speak. His face changed instantly. What? He went still. Where? Silence. Then he turned to me, eyes unreadable. You need to pack a bag. I blinked. Why? His voice was ice. Because the Bureau just issued a kill order. I didn't cry until I saw my badge in the trash. It was sitting on top of the broken wire, half covered by the white t-shirt Kail had been wearing when he kissed me. They'd cut me loose. Not just off the comms, not just out of the op. The Bureau didn't want me back. Because once they think you're compromised, they don't waste time with questions. They erase you. You okay? Kail asked behind me, zipping up a duffel. No, I said honestly. He nodded once. No, I'm sorry. No fake comfort. He knew what this was. Where are we going? He didn't look at me. Somewhere they won't find you. You mean us? No, he said. You. The car was already waiting in the garage. One of his men held the door. Another handed me a burner phone. No numbers, no contacts. Kail slid into the seat beside me. Use it if you need me. I stared at him. You're not coming. They want you dead. And you don't? He didn't answer right away, just studied me the way he always did, like I was a chessboard he already won. I don't kill women I love. I blinked. What did you say? I said, he repeated, voice low. I don't kill women I love. My chest went still. I wanted to ask if he meant it, if this was another lie, another move, but he didn't give me the chance. Take her to the port, he said to the driver. The ship's ready. I gripped the edge of the seat. You're smuggling me out of the country. I'm keeping you alive. I can't just disappear, Kail. I have nothing. No passport, no job, no... You have me. The words landed like a punch. And what does that mean? I whispered. That I get to be your secret now? Your kept wife in some villa on the coast while the rest of the world forgets I ever existed? Yes, he said, like it was simple, like it was mercy. We stopped at a warehouse on the edge of the East River. He got out first. I followed him up the stairs to an office above the loading dock, where a single duffel bag sat on a steel desk. He opened it and pulled out stacks of cash. A passport, 2 handguns, and a ring. Not the one I wore, a different one. This one was black, sleek, engraved, Kail. If they catch you, they'll torture you for information, he said. This tells them you belong to me. They won't touch you. I stared at him. You think a ring will save me? No, he said, but it'll buy you time. His voice dropped lower, and it'll remind you who you belong to. My breath hitched. Say it. I shook my head. Say it, he repeated, stepping closer. No. He reached for my hand, sliding the black ring onto my finger, slow and deliberate. You're mine now, Anna. There's no going back. I never agreed to this. You didn't have to. Outside, an engine revved. He looked at me one last time. Then he said the words that broke something I didn't know I was still protecting. If you ever come back, make sure it's because you chose me. And then he turned, and gunfire exploded from the dock below. I hit the floor a second before the bullets hit the window. Kail was already moving, dragging me behind the desk, shielding me with his body as splinters of glass exploded across the room. 3 seconds. That's all it to turn a goodbye into a war zone. Stay down, he snapped, pulling a gun from the duffel. My ears rang. My pulse was thunder. Below us, the warehouse erupted with chaos. Shouts in Italian, tires screeching, automatic fire hammering the loading dock like nails into a coffin. Kail, don't talk. He checked the clip, chambered around, and slid another weapon toward me. I didn't take it. You said I was leaving. You are, he growled. But not in a fucking body bag. We made it to the stairwell, ducking gunfire the whole way. By the time we reached the bottom, 2 of his men were dead. One of them had tried to shield the car. The windshield was painted with blood. Who are they? I shouted as we ducked behind a steel support beam. Kail glanced around the corner, returned fire, then turned to me with eyes like ice. People who want both of us dead. FBI? Not this time. Then he looked at me, like he was about to say something else. But he didn't. He just grabbed my face and kissed me like it might be the last time. Quick question. Are you enjoying the story so far? Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. Because what happens next? Let's just say I stopped pretending I had a way out. We made it out through a back alley, sprinted 2 blocks, and ditched into a parking garage. By the time Kail hotwired a car, I'd finally taken the second gun. Your hands are shaking, he said, pulling into traffic. I just watched 3 people die. You've seen worse. I didn't answer, because he was right. I had. But this time felt different. This time it wasn't part of the job. This time it was because of me. Why now? I asked. Why try to kill us now? Kail didn't look at me, because I tried to protect you. My stomach dropped. Who? My family. Silence. They found out I was letting you go. We made it to a safe house near the river, one of his, hidden above an old boxing gym. I sat on the edge of the cot, the gun still in my lap, the ring still on my finger. My mind racing. They're going to keep coming, aren't they? I asked. Yes, I looked at him. And you're going to keep protecting me? Yes. Why? He walked over. His hands came to rest on either side of my face. Because if I lose you, he whispered, there's nothing left to protect. I swallowed hard. He leaned in, brushed his lips over mine, slow, gentle, until I gasped, and he kissed me deeper, like it was the only thing keeping him alive, and I kissed him back, because even if the rest of the world wanted me gone, he didn't, and that was enough. Until my burner phone buzzed. One new message. No number. We know where you are. Now. The second I turned toward the window, Kail tackled me to the floor. Glass shattered above us, sharp and brutal, raining down where my head had just been. "Sniper," he growled, already crawling toward the back hallway. "Go!" My ears rang. My knees stung. I grabbed the burner and shoved it into my pocket as we scrambled behind the bathroom wall. "Clear?" I whispered. "No." He pulled me tighter against him as another shot punched through the drywall. We both froze. That one had been closer. Kail's voice was low, steady. "They're done sending messages." I nodded, breath stuck in my throat. This wasn't about scaring us anymore. This was a hit. We escaped out the back exit, through the gym, down a rusted stairwell that smelled like sweat and old copper. Once we were in the alley, Kail dragged me into the shadows and yanked out his phone. He barked something in Italian, urgent, clipped, deadly, then shoved the phone in his pocket. "Safe house is burned," he said. "We're off-grid from here." "No backup." "You are the backup." I stared at him. "You trust me to watch your back?" He looked down at me, blood on his sleeve, jaw tight. "No," he said. "I trust you to die with me if it comes to that." We ducked into an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Canal Street. Wet concrete, flickering lights, rats in the distance. It felt like the underworld. Fitting. "Why aren't we dead yet?" I asked as we stepped around rusted scaffolding. "They want something." "Like what?" "Me." I stopped walking. "No, you think they want me?" Kail didn't answer. "You think the Bureau sent them," I said, voice rising. "I think you're the one thing they couldn't control, and now they don't like how deep I've let you in." "You mean how deep you let me in," I snapped. "Same thing." He turned and grabbed me, pressed me back against a cold tile wall. "They want you gone, Anna, and not just the Bureau. My family, my rivals, the people who hate me most." His hand slid to my waist. "Because they think you're my weakness." I looked up at him. "Are they right?" His jaw clenched. "Yes." He kissed me then, fast, rough, like it hurt him. I kissed him back like I didn't care if it did, because we were already dying for each other in pieces. We made it to a maintenance room buried beneath a defunct rail tunnel. There was a first aid kit, a cot, a bottle of vodka someone had stashed years ago. We caught our breath in silence, until I said the one thing I shouldn't. "I think the kill order was about more than me." Kail looked at me. I pulled the burner from my pocket and showed him the message again. He took it, turned the phone in his hands, then froze. "What is it?" He didn't answer right away, but when he finally spoke, his voice was like frost. "This message wasn't sent to you." I blinked. "What?" He turned the screen toward me. The text header didn't say "Message to Anna Martin." It said, "Surveillance alert, subject Kail Corettie. High-value asset, eyes on target." My stomach dropped. "I wasn't the one they were tracking," I whispered. Kail's eyes locked on mine. "No," he said. "They've been tracking me." I wasn't the agent anymore. He was the asset. And that changed everything. Kail stared at the burner like it was radioactive. His jaw flexed. His breathing slowed. Then, with terrifying calm, he smashed the phone against the wall. Shards scattered. My heart did too. "Who's watching you?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "Doesn't matter. It matters to me." "No," he snapped. "It matters to them." I flinched at the venom in his voice. He ran a hand down his face, like he was trying to hold himself together. "I built an empire," he muttered. "Brick by brick, lie by lie. I made sure no one could touch me." I stepped closer. "Then why can they now?" He looked at me. "Finally, because I let you in." Silence. Just the sound of the subway dripping and the ache behind my ribs. "I didn't ask for this," I said. "You didn't have to." He turned away, opened the supply locker, and pulled out another burner. Tossed it on the cot without looking at me. I didn't move. He kept talking. "There's only two reasons they'd track me like this. Either I'm about to flip." "You're not. Or they think I already have." I went cold. That was the truth, wasn't it? I hadn't sent any reports. Hadn't logged any evidence. Hadn't made a single move against him in weeks because some part of me had already made my choice, and now they thought he had too. "They think we're in this together," I whispered. His voice came like a knife. "Aren't we?" He crossed the room and kissed me. Hard, angry, like he didn't know whether to throw me against the wall or pull me into his chest and keep me there forever. And I kissed him back, because maybe this was it. Maybe this was how it ends. 2 traitors, 1 bed, 0 exits. But I wasn't ready for what he said next. I have a safe deposit box, he murmured against my mouth. Names, accounts, everything the Bureau's been asking for. I froze. What? He leaned his forehead against mine. I've been building my own out. For a year. Watching them watch me. My blood turned to ice. You've been planning to flip? No, he said. But I knew if I ever needed to disappear, I'd have leverage. And now, he looked at me. You're the reason I need it. We left the safe room that night, back through tunnels and side streets, until we reached an old pay-by-the-hour motel in Queens. It reeked of bleach and mold and something sour I didn't name. He paid in cash, didn't ask for a receipt. We didn't speak until we were inside. Then, who else knows about the deposit box? I asked. No one. You sure? He looked at me, long and hard. You think I'd lie to you now? I think everyone lies when they're cornered. He stepped closer. So ask yourself, who's more dangerous now? Me? Or the people hunting us? My heart pounded, because I didn't know the answer. And maybe that's what terrified me most. That night, I couldn't sleep. He lay beside me, arm draped across my waist, heartbeat steady against my back. I stared at the cracked ceiling and counted all the things I'd lost. My badge, my cover, my plan, my name, and then his fingers tightened on my hip. Anna. I turned. He didn't open his eyes, but his voice was clear. They're not done yet. My throat went tight. You're dreaming. No, he murmured. They're close. He opened his eyes, and just as he did, the fire alarm started screaming. We didn't smell smoke, which meant it wasn't a fire. It was a warning. Kail was already off the bed, pulling a pistol from under the mattress and shoving a second one into my hand. Back exit, he said. What if they're waiting? They are. He grabbed the bag, slung it over his shoulder, and kissed me, hard and fast like goodbye. Then he whispered, Stay behind me, no matter what you hear. We kicked the door open into a hallway flooded with blinking red light. Guests stumbled out of rooms in pajamas and towels, covering their faces, yelling into phones, confused, angry, harmless, but I felt it in my gut. They weren't alone. Kail scanned the crowd like a soldier, eyes cutting sharp through every shadow. Then I saw him freeze. 4 men, clean-cut, neutral clothes, too calm. FBI, not Bureau field agents, not mine. Wet work. The kind they send when they want silence instead of statements. My throat went dry. Kail's arm slid behind me, shielding me without a word. We ducked through the crowd and pushed toward the back stairs. But they were faster. One of them shouted. Another reached for his jacket. Kail shoved me against the wall. Run. No. I said run. Shots fired. Screams erupted. If you were in my place, what would you do? Stay? Run? Choose the badge or the boy with blood on his hands? Because I'm telling you now, this was the moment everything flipped. So tell me in the comments, what would you have done? We made it into the alley. Barely. My ears rang. My heart was a war drum. Kail's blood was on my shoulder. Just a graze, he said. I didn't believe him. He staggered. I caught him. We need a car, I said. He pointed down the block. Stolen Camry. Plates fake. Keys under the visor. You planned for this? I always planned for betrayal. We sped through Queens like the city owed us mercy. The backseat stank of gasoline and metal. Kail's blood was starting to soak through his shirt. Pull over, he gritted. No. Anna. You bleed out in this seat. I'll kill you. Myself. His laugh was hollow. Romantic. I gripped the wheel tighter. I didn't sign up for this, I said. You signed up to destroy me. Yeah. And look how that turned out. Silence. Then, you really think they'll let us live? He asked softly. No, I said. But I'm not done fighting. He smiled. And then his phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. He picked it up, eyes narrowing, said nothing, listened, then handed it to me. I put it to my early. A voice I hadn't heard in weeks crackled through the line. Agent Martin, if you want him to live, bring us the deposit box. I didn't say yes, but I didn't hang up either. The voice on the line didn't wait. You have 48 hours. Then static. I dropped the burner onto the console like it was poison. Kail didn't look at me. He was bleeding through the wrap job we'd done on his arm. Face pale, eyes forward. What did they say? He asked. They want the deposit box. And if they don't get it? My hands tightened on the wheel. They'll kill you. He didn't flinch, didn't swear. Just leaned back in the seat and stared out the window. Then you better make a choice. We holed up in a busted-out marina outside Yonkers, the kind of place that smelled like diesel and secrets. I used a rusted toolbox to dig a slug out of his arm. He didn't make a sound, didn't even blink, just watched me while I worked. You're too calm, I said. He didn't smile. I've died before, not like this, but enough times to stop fearing it. Don't talk like that. Why? You think saying it out loud makes it real? No, I said quietly. I think saying it out loud makes it easier for you to leave me behind. We stayed in silence for hours. He slept barely. I sat by the dock, burner in hand, listening to waves lap against rotting wood. 48 hours. That's what they gave me. But I knew the truth. I had less. If they were calling me, they were desperate. That meant someone else was closer to getting it, or closer to taking him. Which meant I had to choose now. Turn him in, hand over the box, save him with betrayal, or trust him, hide him, destroy what was left of my career and maybe my soul. There was no third option, so I stood and walked back inside and said the words that sealed us both. I'll take them the box. Kail opened his eyes. No. You want to live? I want you to live. I'm not walking away. He sat up slowly, blood on his shirt, eyes locked on mine. If you walk into that meat, you're theirs again. I nodded, but I'm yours first. The safe deposit box was stashed behind a false wall in a dry cleaners on the Lower East Side. We went at midnight. No headlights, no talking. I opened the wall with a key hidden in the hem of Kail's old suit jacket. Inside was a black briefcase. He opened it, and I swear I felt the world tilt. Names, numbers, photos, audio files, not just dirty laundry. Evidence that could sink 5 families, and the bureau. Because buried at the bottom was a flash drive with bureau insignia. Kail looked at me. They've been playing both sides longer than you think. Why do you still have this? In case I ever needed leverage. I stared at the drive. Give it to me. His jaw clenched. You sure? No, but I took it anyway, because they'd asked for the box, and now I understood why. 2 hours later, I showed up to the meet alone. Roof of a parking garage, gray dawn bleeding over the skyline, no sign of them, until I heard the door creak behind me. I turned. It wasn't the bureau. It was Kail's brother, and he was holding a gun. I knew it was over the moment I saw the way he smiled at me. Kail's brother didn't point the gun like he was afraid. He pointed it like he'd been waiting. Anna, he said, voice calm, almost gentle. You look thinner. The rooftop was empty except for us. Gray concrete, low wall, the city yawning below like it was ready to swallow whoever slipped first. Wind cut through my coat. My fingers tightened around the briefcase. Where's Kail? I asked. His brother, Luca, tilted his head. Same bone structure, same dark eyes, but where Kail was control, Luca was chaos dressed in patience. Safe, he said. For now. My pulse thudded. This isn't the meet. No, he agreed. This is the conversation before the meet. He gestured with the gun. Put it down. I set the briefcase on the ground between us. Didn't kick it over. Didn't open it. You followed me, I said. I've been following you for weeks. That landed harder than I expected. You tipped them off at the motel, I said. The fire alarm. He smiled wider. You're learning. Why? My voice shook despite my effort. Why sell out your own brother? Luca stepped closer, careful not to cross the invisible line where I might bolt. Because Kail has always been sentimental, he said, and sentiment is expensive. The wind lifted my hair. I didn't move. You brought the box, he said. Good girl. I laughed. It came out wrong. You think this ends well for you? I think it ends, he said. That's enough. He reached for the briefcase. I didn't let go. His smile vanished. You don't get to keep it, he said. I do, I shot back. Because without me, you don't know what's inside. And without that... A click. The gun cocked. You're not as valuable as you think. My heart slammed. You won't shoot me. Oh? He lifted the gun slightly. Why not? Because Kail would never forgive you. Luca leaned in, voice dropping. Kail doesn't forgive. He replaces. Silence stretched. Then Luca's phone buzzed. He glanced down, and that was my opening. I kicked the briefcase hard, sending it skidding toward the ledge, and lunged. The gun went off. Concrete exploded inches from my head. We crashed into each other, momentum carrying us toward the low wall. His hand slammed into my throat. Mine clawed for his wrist. You stupid bitch, he hissed. You should have stayed an agent. I stopped being one the moment you decided to kill me, he laughed. No, you stopped the moment you fell in love with my brother. That hit harder than the chokehold. He shoved me back, gun rising again, and then Luca froze. Slowly. Anna, Kail's voice said behind him, let her go. My breath caught. Kail stepped out from the stairwell, gun raised, blood still seeping through the bandage on his arm. His face was pale, eyes black with something lethal. Move, Luca said without turning, "or I shoot her." "You already tried," Kail said. "You missed." Luca smiled. "I was aiming for the box." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. "Kail," I whispered. "Don't." His eyes flicked to me, softened for half a second, then hardened again. "You set her up," Kail said. "You tipped the bureau." "They tipped themselves," Luca said. "I just nudged them toward the right asset." "You sold me out. I protected the family." Kail laughed once. Low. Broken. "By handing them my wife?" That word landed like a gunshot. Luca's smile finally cracked. "She's not your wife," he snapped. "She's a liability." Kail stepped closer. "So are you." Everything happened at once. Luca spun. Kail fired. The shot tore through Luca's shoulder, knocking him back into the wall. He screamed, gun clattering across the concrete. I ran. Kail caught me, pulling me into his chest just as sirens wailed in the distance. "They're coming," I gasped. "I know." He dragged me toward the stairwell, then stopped. Because Luca was laughing, bleeding, slumped, laughing. "You think this fixes it?" Luca rasped. "They already have what they need." Kail turned slowly. "What did you do?" Luca lifted Blizz, his chin, eyes burning. "I made sure the bureau knows exactly where you'll be tonight." My stomach dropped. Kail's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and all the color drained from his face. "They're not coming for you anymore," Luca said softly. "They're coming for her." Kail looked at me, and I knew. Whatever he was about to do next was going to change everything. The moment Kail looked at me like that, I knew he was going to sacrifice himself. Not dramatically. Not loudly, quietly. The way men like him always do. The sirens were closer now, echoing off concrete, bouncing between buildings, swallowing the rooftop in sound. Red and blue lights painted the walls like blood and bruises. Kail's phone was still in his hand. I could see the message on the screen. Multiple units en route. Primary target, Anna Martin. My stomach turned to ice. "They're not here for you," I said, even though we both knew it was a lie. "They're bluffing." Kail didn't answer. He slipped the phone into his pocket, then reached for my face with hands that were suddenly too gentle for the chaos around us. "Listen to me," he said. "When they come through that door, you run." "No." "You go down the east stairwell. There's a car waiting 2 blocks away. Keys are taped under the bumper." I shook my head. "You planned this." "I plan everything." "And what happens to you?" His jaw tightened. "That's not your problem anymore." I felt something break open in my chest. "I'm your wife," I said. "You don't get to decide that alone." His eyes softened for half a second, then hardened again. "I get to decide how this ends." Luca groaned behind us, coughing blood. "You always were like this," he rasped. "Playing king, taking the fall." Kail didn't look at him. "I warned you," Luca continued. "She would be the thing that ruined you." Kail finally turned. "No," he said coldly. "You are." He stepped forward and pressed his gun to Luca's chest. I grabbed his arm. "Kail, don't." He looked at me, and for the first time since I met him, I saw fear. Not of dying, of losing me. "I can't let him talk," he said quietly. "They'll use him to get to you." I swallowed hard. Then I did the one thing I hadn't done yet. I chose. "Let him live," I said, "and I'll fix this." Both brothers froze. Kail stared at me. "You can't." "Yes," I said. "I can." I reached into my coat and pulled out the flash drive, the one with the bureau insignia. "This is what they want," I said. "Not you, not him. This." Kail's eyes widened just a fraction. "You were going to give it to them." "I was going to trade it. For my life," he said. "For ours," I corrected. "Be honest, are you team him or team her right now? Because this is the moment I stopped pretending I was undercover. This is the moment I stopped waiting for permission. Tell me, are you team him or team her? And don't answer until you hear what I did next." I turned toward the stairwell as boots thundered below. "Anna," Kail said sharply. "No," I ignored him. I lifted the flash drive high enough that anyone coming through that door would see it. "I'm Agent Anna Martin," I shouted, "and I have evidence of bureau corruption, organized crime collusion, and sanctioned assassinations." Silence. Then a voice echoed up the stairs. "Put the drive down." I smiled without humor. "Oh, not until I speak to internal affairs. And not until Kail Corettie is guaranteed immunity." Kail grabbed my arm. "You can't promise that." "I'm not promising," I said. "I'm leveraging." The footsteps stopped. Someone laughed softly. "That's a dangerous game, Agent Martin." "I know," I said. "I learned it from the best." I felt Kail behind me, solid, furious, terrified. "You do this," he murmured, "and there's no going back." I looked over my shoulder. I already crossed that line when you put a ring on my finger. The agents emerged slowly, guns raised, faces blank. One of them spoke into his mic. She's holding classified material. Proceed with caution. Another lifted his weapon, aimed straight at me. Kail stepped in front of me instantly. No, I snapped, shoving past him. I stand where I stand. The agent smirked. You think you're in control? I held up the drive. I think you don't want this going public. A beat, then another. Then a single shot rang out. I didn't know who fired it. I only knew Kail jerked violently, and his body slammed into mine. He didn't fall right away. Kail stumbled. One hand gripped my arm. The other went to his side. When it came back up, it was soaked in red. Kail, I'm fine. He wasn't. He dropped to one knee, breathing hard, blood running down his ribs in a dark, steady line. Behind us, the agents raised their weapons again. One wrong move and it would be a slaughter. I crouched beside him. You're not fine. I told you, he whispered, jaw clenched. I don't die like this. Good, I said, forcing steel into my voice, because you're not allowed to die at all. He smiled, just barely, and collapsed. Everything moved too fast. I threw myself in front of him, both hands raised, flash drive clenched in one fist. Lower your weapons, I shouted. A pause. Then two of the agents stepped forward, circling like sharks. You're obstructing a federal. This is evidence, I said, holding up the drive. And if you shoot him, it's going to 6 journalists by midnight. A beat. One of them cocked his head. Agent Martin, we already have the evidence. My breath caught. What? He reached into his jacket and pulled out a second drive. Identical. No. I never gave it to anyone. You didn't have to. He turned the drive over, showed me a faint chip embedded in the casing, a duplicate device, remotely activated. Your original supervisor wired your safe house, he said. The drive's data synced the moment you opened the briefcase. My stomach dropped. It had always been a setup. Kail groaned beside me. I turned back to him, pressed both hands to his side. You're okay, I whispered, even though he wasn't. You're bleeding, he said, trying to smirk. You're lucky I love you. His eyes fluttered, then opened. Say it again. I bent down. I love you. A single breath. His hand found mine. Then the agent spoke again. Step away from the body. No, I said. Not until he gets a deal. You don't make deals. I do now. I stood slowly. Blood on my hands, flash drive in my fist. They circled closer. You're not the first agent to fall for a mark. I smiled tightly. And you're not the first suit to underestimate a woman with nothing to lose. I pressed the panic button on the side of the drive. 6 synced destinations. Real ones. They didn't know which yet. But I did. The agent swore. You'd burn your own agency? I stared at him. I burned it the second they burned me. Behind us, someone groaned. Luca. Still alive. Still watching. This is cute, he said, dragging himself upright. But it won't matter. They'll never let you disappear, he rasped to Kail, and they'll never trust her again. I don't want them to, I said. He laughed, wet and hoarse. Then what do you want? I didn't hesitate. I want out. 2 SUVs screeched up the ramp behind the agents, more black suits. No visible badges. One man stepped out, face unreadable. He looked at me, at Kail, at the pool of blood, the flash drive in my hand. Then he said, Miss Martin, if you come with us now, the Corettie heir walks. Quietly. Permanently. I froze. They weren't here to kill. Not anymore. They were here to erase my life, his name, this whole story, and give us what we said we wanted. Out. One chance. But only if I handed over the drive and the silence that came with it. I looked at Kail, barely conscious, pale, still bleeding, then back at the man in the suit, and asked the one question that would decide everything. What happens if I say no? He didn't blink. We finished what we started. I've never held power in my hands before. Not like this. Not with men in suits circling me like sharks, their weapons hidden in plain sight, waiting to devour whoever blinked first. I could feel it. One choice, one move, and everything would end. You walk with us now, the man repeated, and your husband walks too. Clean. Off the map. No more blood. I stared at him, then at the flash drive still clutched in my fist, then down at Kail, his eyes half closed, lips parted, chest rising shallow and slow. You'll let him go? I asked. We'll bury him so deep even the Coretties won't know where to look. And me? His smile was cold. You get your life back. No. He raised a brow. No, I don't want my life back, I said quietly. I want his. I threw the drive over the side of the roof. It sailed like a stone, vanishing into the sunrise-lit city. Gasps. swears, guns raising, but I was already moving, back to Kail, dropping to my knees beside him, shielding his body with mine. "You just made a mistake," the man said, voice like ice. "No," I said, meeting his eyes. "You did, because behind him, someone was moving, bleeding, laughing, Luca, still crawling, still breathing, still insane, and holding something in his hand, something small, silver, deadly, a detonator." Kail's head lolled to the side. "No, I warned you," Luca rasped. "You should have finished it when you had the chance." The man in the suit turned. "What the hell is that?" "A goodbye," Luca whispered. Kail's voice was raw. "Anna, run." I didn't. I turned to Luca. "You won't kill your own brother." "I won't have to," he coughed. "I just have to kill you." Then he pressed the trigger. And nothing. Silence. Click, click, nothing. His face twisted in rage. The detonator was dead. Kail chuckled, blood in his mouth. I stole the batteries. The agents surged forward, shouting orders, aiming at Luca, at Kail, at me. Everything blurred, guns raised, boots pounding, voices in my ear. And then a voice I hadn't heard in weeks from the stairwell, sharp, unforgiving. "Stand down." Everyone froze. I turned, and my blood went cold. Because standing there in full tactical gear, sidearm drawn, badge on her chest, was my former handler, Agent Monica Reed. The woman who built this op, the woman who trained me, and the woman who by all rights should have had my back. Instead, she raised her gun and pointed it straight at Kail. "Step aside, Anna," she said. "This ends here." I hadn't seen Monica in 7 months, but I still remembered exactly how she smiled when she lied to me, and she was smiling now. "You were always the best," she said softly, "but you forgot the rule." "What rule?" She clicked the safety off. "Never fall for the asset." Kail groaned behind me. I moved to shield him without thinking, blood soaking into the knees of my jeans. "I'm not stepping aside," I said. "You should. If you shoot him, I'll bury this whole agency." She raised an eyebrow. "You already did." "Then what's the point?" I asked. "Why kill him?" Monica's expression didn't change. "Because even if you burn the bureau to the ground," she said, "the Coretties still breathe, and he's the heir. That makes him the next war." "He's bleeding out," I snapped. "He can't even stand." "Exactly," she said. "It's the perfect time to end him." The agents around us hesitated. They were waiting on her, waiting for me. Luca was unconscious now, slumped beside the wall like a forgotten consequence. Kail's hand tightened weakly on mine. "Don't," he whispered. I leaned closer. "Don't what? Don't trade yourself for me." Too late, I stood, slowly. "I gave you everything," I said to Monica. 3 years of my life. Every lie I had. And then you picked him. "No," I said. "I chose myself." I reached down, pulled Kail's pistol from the ground, and aimed it straight at her. Monica blinked. "You won't shoot," she said. "I don't have to," I replied, and then, behind her, another voice spoke. "You already lost, Agent Reed." We all turned. Internal affairs. 2 agents. Real ones. Guns drawn. Badges raised. "We intercepted your kill order," one said. "You're off book and off mission." Monica went still. "You think I didn't plan for this?" she said. Then she dropped her weapon and smiled. "See you in the debrief, Anna." They cuffed her. She didn't fight. I didn't speak. My knees buckled as soon as they dragged her away. Kail caught me, barely, but it was enough. We held each other in the wreckage, in the blood, in the smoke of something we'd both lit on fire. "I thought I lost you," I whispered. "You did," he rasped. "But I came back anyway." "Why?" "Because you're the only lie I ever wanted to keep." 2 weeks later, I stood on a dock in Portugal. Sea air, quiet sunrise, a new name in my passport. No badge, no mission, no war. Just him. Kail leaned against the railing, scars healing beneath a white linen shirt, sunglasses hiding the way he watched me, like I still might run. I didn't. Not this time. I walked up behind him, pressed a hand to his back. "You still want to disappear?" I asked. His voice was low. "Only if you're next to me." I slipped my hand into his. "Then let's disappear together." 6 months later, I found him in the kitchen, barefoot, shirtless, and holding our baby like she was a secret. "She was crying," Kail said, his voice still hoarse from sleep. "I didn't want to wake you." The sun streamed in through the open windows, soft and gold and unreal. Portugal glowed like a dream we didn't deserve. And Kail Corettie, Mafia heir, ghost, weapon, now the man making bottles with one hand and rocking our daughter with the other, was looking at me like I was his entire world. I leaned against the doorframe, heart caught in my throat. "She's not crying now," I said. "She likes it when I talk to her." "What do you say?" He glanced down at the baby in his arms, her little fingers curled around one of his. I tell her how we burned it all down. We didn't get peace easily. We bought it. With blood. With betrayal. With a truth so sharp it nearly killed us both. But the bureau files leaked. The Coretties fractured. And when the world turned upside down, we disappeared right through the middle of it. New names, clean passports, quiet beach town. Kail still moved like a man expecting to be hunted. I still slept with a knife under the mattress. But we weren't running anymore. We were living. Together. That night after we put her down, Kail took me by the hand and led me to the rooftop. Same stars, new sky. He pulled me into his arms and held me there like the world still owed us something. What are you thinking? I whispered. His lips brushed my ear. I used to think love was the weakness, he said. Now I think it's the weapon. My chest tightened. So what are we? He kissed my jaw, my throat, the corner of my mouth. We're the aftermath. In the end, I didn't choose the badge. I didn't choose the bureau. I didn't even choose justice. I chose him. I chose the man who taught me what it meant to risk everything and love anyway. And maybe that's what redemption really is. Not erasing the past, but surviving it, together. The end. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If this story pulled you in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. New Dark Mafia romance audiobooks are posted regularly. Tell me in the comments, was this love or a trap? Until next time.